A low-level dealer making only $4 an hour practiced behind closed doors in his own kitchen for a year. He perfected a trace-free chip-switching sleight of hand. With this original technique, he ran rampant in casinos worldwide for 19 years. In total, he made $5 million. In 1976, at Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas, 24-year-old Richard was just a low-level dealer. He worked 8 hours a day, 6 days a week. His hourly wage was only $4.50. Meager tips were his only extra income. But 2 years as a dealer brought him something far more valuable than money. He figured out the casino's entire operating logic, the dealer's way of thinking on the job, and the blind spots and loopholes in the surveillance system. At 2 a.m. in 1978, the clamor of Las Vegas died down. The lights in Richard's apartment kitchen were blazing. Scattered across the tabletop were casino chips of all kinds: red $5 chips, green $25 chips, black $100 chips, neatly laid out. For months, he studied roulette over and over. This is a dice game that's controlled by technique, and in itself it relies purely on luck. But the only way to break the deadlock is to quietly rewrite the value of the bet after the result is in. To that end, he perfected a double-layer chip stacking concealment technique. That is, he placed small $5 red chips on top. He hid the large $100 black chips at the bottom. From the surveillance cameras and the dealer's overhead viewpoint, it looked like nothing more than a negligible small bet. He practiced the entire process over and over. When the round was lost, he would seize the opening to pull out the large value chip from the bottom. He left only the small chips to be paid out. When he won the round, he kept the entire stack intact, letting the dealer discover the hidden high-stakes bet. This technique was discreet and left no trace, simple and efficient. It exploited everyone's visual blind spots and habitual assumptions. Almost flawless. In March 1980, at the Tropicana Casino in Las Vegas, Richard wore a cheap suit and disguised himself as an ordinary sightseeing tourist as he took a seat at the roulette table. He exchanged $200 for chips and spent the entire time testing the waters with small bets. Overall, he lost more than he won. He deliberately created the image of an ordinary gambler with so luck. A full 20 minutes of build-up dispelled the dealer's and surveillance's wariness. In the staff's eyes, he was just an insignificant, ordinary loser. When the timing was right, Richard made his first move and used the switch. On the surface of the table, he placed a $5 red chip. Hidden underneath was a $100 black chip. From an overhead view, it looked like just a small $5 bet. Flawless. The roulette wheel spun rapidly, and in the end the ball landed on 23. The bet was lost. While the dealer was focused on settling everyone's wins and losses. With no time to pay attention to the momentary move of a small-time player, Richard put on a disappointed act. He quickly raised his hand and took away the $100 chip underneath. He paid out using only a $5 chip. The dealer was busy collecting the losing chips and paying out the winner's winnings. Completely unaware of this silent arbitrage, he kept up the rhythm of small bets. He lay low for 30 minutes, waiting for the next opportunity. This time, he replicated the chip stacking technique. He placed the bet concealing a large denomination chip on number 29. The roulette wheel stopped, and the ball landed precisely on 29. A huge win. Richard didn't show the slightest bit of exuberant joy, his expression remained calm throughout. When the dealer stepped forward to pay out, he flipped through the chips. In an instant, he discovered a high-value $100 chip hidden at the bottom. Suspicious right away, he immediately called the supervisor over to verify. The staff double-checked repeatedly. Casino rules have never prohibited stacking chips. This high-stakes bet genuinely existed, with no violations throughout. At roulette odds of 35 to 1, a $100 wager corresponds to a $3,500 payout. Even though they were full of confusion, the casino could only follow the rules and pay out in full. Just 20 minutes later, Richard calmly walked out. His pocket now held an extra $3,500. This was the first big sum he earned by relying on his chip switching trick. Over the following year, Richard continually refined and perfected this method. He figured out all the core rules for making profits and avoiding risk. He summed up the optimal betting range. Keep the amount of chips secretly palmed in a single instance between $100 and $500. If the amount is too high, it can easily alert security. At the same time, strictly control how often you make a move. Leave at least 45 minutes between each chip switching operation. During the downtime, bet only small amounts throughout to maintain the persona of an ordinary gambler. He was skilled at risk avoidance techniques. Once he noticed the supervisor staring at him more than 3 times. He immediately switched tables. If a camera stayed trained on him for an extended time, he decisively exited by taking a roundabout route. It was 1981 at the time. Most casinos were still using outdated surveillance systems from the 1970s. The footage was extremely grainy, and the camera angles had many blind spots. The black and white images made it impossible to clearly distinguish chip colors. This provided him with ideal conditions to carry out his crimes. One top casino after another in Las Vegas was cleaned out by him. The MGM Grand made a profit of $4,200 in a single night. At the Flamingo Casino, he made 3 moves, netting a total of $2,800. At the Desert Inn, he made $5,500 over 2 nights. At the Sands Casino, he arbitraged $3,100 in a single go. His earnings in a single night far exceeded what he used to make as a dealer in 3 months. But the Las Vegas casino circle is very small. Security teams share information quickly. Frequent abnormal winnings gradually exposed his whereabouts. To avoid risk, Richard decided to shift his focus to international casinos. In June 1983, at the Monte Carlo Casino in Monaco, Richard entered wearing an exquisite suit. Utmost confidence became his best disguise. He took a seat at a European single-zero roulette table. He cashed in for €5,000 in chips and patiently lay low for 90 minutes. Throughout, he kept a rhythm of losing big and winning small. Each bet was €50 to €100. He perfectly disguised himself as a big-spending, average-luck wealthy tourist, completely lulling the dealers and security on site. The perfect moment quietly arrived. 7 players filled the table. The dealer was busy paying out multiple winners at the same time. The supervisor's attention was entirely focused on the high-end VIPs in the back row, leaving him no time to pay attention to the ordinary small-time players. Richard took the opportunity to make his move, placing a €50 chip on top. With a high-value €1,000 chip hidden underneath, he precisely bet on number 7. The roulette came to a stop, and the ball landed firmly on 7, a big win. As the dealer reached out to settle the chips, he unexpectedly discovered the high-stakes bet hidden underneath and froze on the spot. He then reported it up the chain level by level. The supervisor and senior management arrived one after another to verify and investigate. At that moment, Richard's heart was racing, but his expression remained composed and calm throughout. He knew the casino had only 2 options: pay out according to the rules, or convict him by force without any evidence. In the end, the casino reviewed the table rules and the full video footage of the betting process. It was confirmed that there had been no violations. They could only pay out €35,000 according to the odds, based solely on what looked on the surface like a small €50 bet. Richard walked away in one go with a huge sum of €35,000. He didn't rush to leave, instead calmly played 3 more rounds. He erased any traces of abnormality and ultimately cashed out €38,000. He left calmly. But the moment he was leaving, he keenly noticed the casino manager was on the phone while quietly jotting down his information. On guard, for the next 5 years, he never set foot in Monaco again. In 1985, Richard realized that working alone was inefficient and carried greater risk. He urgently needed a team to coordinate and create cover. To that end, he carefully assembled a three-person core team. David, a former croupier well-versed in all the casino rules. Responsible for placing small bets at the same table, deliberately creating crowd interference. His girlfriend Patricia was good at stirring things up on the spot, through chit-chat and questions. She set the tone and precisely disrupted the crucial moments when the dealer was settling bets. Tony, a former casino supervisor, knew the surveillance setup inside out. He could accurately identify blind spots in the cameras and anticipate the rhythm of security patrols. Professional teamwork greatly reduced the risk of the switch scam. The profits doubled. The group moved on to major gambling cities around the world, winning again and again. At London's Leeds Casino, they made a profit of $18,000 in a single night. At Paris's Aviation Club, they netted 95,000 francs. At Atlantic City's Borgata Hotel, they arbitraged $12,000 over 2 nights. From 1985 to 1990, over the course of 5 years. This secretive team, relying on flawless coordination, amassed total profits as high as $2 million. No matter how perfect a system is, it will eventually reveal a flaw. In December 1991, the Bellagio in Las Vegas had long had its eye on this mysterious gambler. Although the security team didn't know his true identity or his method of operation, they captured a strange pattern through 3 weeks of continuous monitoring. This unfamiliar player made only small bets the whole time and lost again and again. Once he won, he would secretly slip in a large wager. His abnormal win rate far exceeded reasonable odds, making him highly suspect. To solve the mystery, the casino installed a brand new high-definition surveillance camera directly above Table 7, which Richard used most often. It provided blind spot-free coverage of every tiny movement on the tabletop. On December 18, an unsuspecting Richard entered as usual. Sitting down at Table 7, he still used his chip-swapping trick from time to time. If he didn't win, he'd pull out the high-denomination chip and pay out with a small-denomination chip. If he won, he'd keep the high-denomination chip. After picking the right moment, he repeated the classic swapping technique. A $5 red chip went on top, with a $500 black chip hidden underneath, betting on number 14. The roulette wheel stopped spinning, and the ball landed right on target. The bet on number 14 won. Just as the dealer was about to settle the payout, the casino supervisor strode up and took Richard straight to the back interrogation room. Staff pulled up the brand new HD surveillance footage. The footage was replayed in slow motion, frame by frame. The video clearly recorded the entire process. He stacked the chips to hide the high-stakes bet as the roulette wheel spun. After the result was announced, it captured every tiny movement as he revealed the large denomination chips, with nothing concealed. The supervisor's words laid bare his modus operandi. You used small chips to cover the large bet underneath. If the bet didn't hit, you secretly pulled out the high-value chips. Once it hit, you kept the entire stack and cheated to claim a huge payout. This was deliberate cheating. Richard remained silent and only asked to have a lawyer brought in. This interrogation dragged on in a standoff for a full 6 hours. At 4 a.m., the casino finally reached a decision. They couldn't convict him or hold him accountable, but they permanently banned Richard from entering the Bellagio. If he trespassed again without permission, he would be arrested on charges of unlawful entry. At 4:17 a.m., Richard walked away unscathed. But he was left with a lifelong mark. From that point on, his photo, identifying characteristics, and MO records were entered into a shared database used by all casinos in Nevada. In the years that followed, Richard disguised his appearance and used fake identities to register and enter major casinos around the world. Security was never able to pin down his real name, photo, or whereabouts. Until 1999, when security technology across the industry was completely overhauled. And high-definition, no blind spot cameras became ubiquitous throughout entire properties. Facial recognition technology was rolled out for testing. Surveillance data from casinos across the United States was interconnected and shared.
Traditional visual blind spots disappeared completely.
The chip switching technique that made him famous no longer had room to survive. 47-year-old Richard Marcus chose to quit while he was ahead. At that time, he had dominated casinos worldwide for 19 years using his chip switching technique. His total profits amounted to nearly $5 million. After quitting, Richard did not fade out of the casino industry. He spent 6 months writing and publishing, in his own hand, a book titled American Roulette: How I Turned the Tables. It broke down, without holding anything back, the complete set of chip switching methods. His casino arbitrage experience across 14 countries, and his hair-raising escapes time and again. It also took a deeper look at casino security logic, staff's psychological weak points, and systemic loopholes. In early 2000, the book was officially released, and instantly caused a sensation in the global casino security circle. In March of the same year, the MGM Grand, which he had repeatedly arbitraged in the past, extended to him an astronomically priced offer to collaborate, hiring him as an exclusive security training consultant, with a daily fee as high as $10,000. In just a single year, Richard became the chief security consultant for all major casinos in Nevada. Many years ago, he was a low-level dealer earning $4.50 an hour. Years later, he was making tens of thousands a day, holding the lifeline of casino security in his hands. The Bellagio, which had once interrogated and banned him, specially flew him in to put him up. He was given full responsibility for training the entire security team's skills. In the years that followed, Richard traveled around the world. His identity shifted from a ghost-like casino cheater to a casino security expert. He wrote security columns for the industry and attended gaming summits worldwide. He delivered expert keynote speeches. In 2003, he released his second industry monograph, which casinos bought in bulk, further rounding out the casino security prevention and control system. By 2005, his legitimate income as a security consultant had long since far surpassed the total profits from 19 years of casino arbitrage. That's all for this episode. See you next time.